I get a lot of people that send me videos, and it puts me in a precarious situation. Because then people are like, "Oh, well, how do you know this? Are you working in Hollow Live? How did you know? Or did you work in these companies? How do you know?" It's like, well, I can speculate based off, how the market's going, how the culture's going, how people are reacting to it, because I actually speak to people that talk. Like, I believe they know these things because what they're saying plus what I'm experiencing is in direct correlation, just like ESG, right? And BlackRock getting sued. Like, we know one of the things BlackRock tried to impose was the things such as ESG on the company, entertainment companies also. And because of this, companies did make changes to the product, to accommodate. And this was against what the consumer wanted. So I'm also give my unsolicited opinion about this. I don't fucking know why people send me this. Like, I'm gonna give my opinion, and I'm gonna get another. Oh, but are you expert? No, I'm not. But I mean, we can look at how things like this happened in the past. We can look at people's reactions, and form an opinion off that. Form what I think will happen as a grown ass adult. But let's give this a watch, shall we? U.S. tariff hits hard. Chinese factories collapse. Selling equipment worse than the pandemic. I do understand that there was this odd period in time where companies were outsourcing a lot of their manufacturing to countries in Asia, such as China, just so they can avoid paying workers a legitimate livable wage. Because in that case, you're just going off the wage of fucking Vietnam, right, or in India, that pays them actual pennies in USD, right? Because here's the thing with USD, right? If you have $20 in any fucking country on the planet, any first world nation on the planet, you won't go starving that day. But can you say the same for pesos or rubles or like yen? I'm not really like, what the hell is yen going to do in France? Like, there are exchange rates, yes, but can you hand people the restaurant just straight yen and be able to eat? Probably not. So that's a one of my unsolicited opinions. But let's give this a watch.
Last month, I took an order for a batch of copper parts. I've already bought all the materials. It cost tens of thousands, and everything has been cut, ground, washed, and engraved. It's not finished yet, but today the customer messaged me and said the delivery might be delayed. After customs clearance, the taxes have gone up too much. A TikToker who works as a bulk trade supplier shared in his video the huge pressure he's under after the sudden increase in U.S. tariffs.
订单量5000多万美金，今年我们订单已经排到了26年的5月份。
Our orders are worth over 50 million US dollars. This year, we're already booked through May 2026. But with this 30% tariff hike, the impact on us is huge.
Yeah, I do believe this will impact China greatly, these tariffs, because their entire business is export. And America is the only country, one of the few countries on the planet that can do this and actually have an effect that, forces other countries, other first world superpowers, to come to the table and negotiate. Like, it's happening right now. Now you have Canada and the EU stomping their fucking feet around. And you have certain people, like people in China, also stomping their fucking feet around. But, I mean, unfortunately, the power of the USD goes a hell of a lot further than just pure monetary value. Like, it has business strength. You know, it has business, like, force behind it.
If you're a small startup, it's not such a big deal because you don't ship enough to fill an entire container. But for us, it hits hard. Our profit margins in bulk trading are already razor thin. Now with a 34% tariff, it's like getting knocked to the ground.
He said the only thing he can do for now is wait. His backup plan is to ship through third-party warehouses in other countries. That's the only way forward. On April 7th, the owner of a clothing factory posted a video saying the entire foreign trade apparel industry in China is filled with anxiety.
现在做外贸单的
Everyone doing foreign trade now is nervous. A 50% tariff is just scary. Who's going to place orders under these conditions? Sure, some clothing businesses are still busy, but it's hard to make money anymore. US orders only make up part of our business, but there are so many clothing factories in China. If we all turn to Europe and there's no US orders, then think about it. Won't competition at home become even worse? Domestic sales are also weak this year. People just don't have money to spend, so how can this market possibly improve?
On April 2nd, US President Donald Trump announced a new round of global-based tariffs, raising rates on dozens of countries. At the time of the announcement, the actual tariff rate for China stood at 34%.
Yeah, and to me, this makes sense. Like, of all the time we've spent sending our businesses away, sending, factories that would benefit Americans away, just so companies don't have to pay the livable wage, right? And sending them to places like China. And America's not the only one doing this. Europe is doing this, is what does this as well. But they do it for, like, ecological reasons. Like, they do it because Mother Gaia is dying and the bureaucracy is filled with Karens that only care for this, like, level of empathy that will ends up stabbing you back because, okay, maybe you yourself can pat yourself on the back, but there are people who will gladly work these jobs in your country, but because the company isn't compliant with whatever, layers upon layers of rules, like, you can legislate companies out of your country, right? No, like, why the hell would we do business in a country that, again, just doesn't work in our interest, just doesn't want us to be here? Obviously, we're going to move to China or other places.
在现行适用关税税率基础上加征34%关税。
In response, the Chinese Communist Party announced on April 4th that it would impose a matching 34% tariff on all goods imported from the US. Trump then warned that he may raise tariffs on China by another 50%. The CCP responded by saying it's ready to fight to the end. While the Chinese government is showing a tough stance, many businesses in China are already feeling the pain.
I think that's a bad decision, right? Because, again, like, the USD is so powerful, and maybe if another currency springs up in the future. No, I don't think that will happen, because if you threaten the power of the USD, America's probably going to go after you. I mean, it's in our interest. Like, the USD protects my way of life, and if you're an American, the USD protects your way of life. That's why everyone wants it. That's why USA did everything in its power to raise, inflation, tax you more, suck the wealth from people that actually work for a living, to give to countries and to people that, like, you don't even know even exists through corruption, because everyone wants the USD, and it required, that type of system for them to get it, right? Because the USD just has that fucking power. And it's also the USD USD will always have value. Even if you have a small loan of $1 million sitting in your bank in your, I don't know, some island nation, but you have a small loan of $1 million, you can always trade that money for oil with Saudi Arabia, and they only take USD. So, yeah. Though we eliminated the gold standard, because of that alone, the USD will always have value.
On April 7th, a TikToker filmed a clothing factory that had shut down and said the clothing industry is in serious trouble. All the machines in his factory are about to stop. He said this year is going to be incredibly tough. That same day, another TikToker posted a similar scene, workers moving goods around inside a clothing factory. He wrote that as soon as the U.S. swung its tariff hammer,
Trump is now in his first month in office, and we
don't care. Yeah, you'll get some of that.
The impact finally hit the apparel industry. His factory originally had orders scheduled through the end of July, but now over 6,000 down jackets have been put on hold, and their ready-to-ship products are piling up in the warehouse. He said both offline and online sales are struggling this year. Even live stream selling isn't working anymore. With sluggish consumer demand and weak domestic sales, the foreign trade slowdown is pushing more exporters into the domestic market, creating even more excess production.
Yeah, and that's also the point of tariffs. And at first, no one cared, because the original idea of tariffs was like, okay, if you really want to utilize slave labor in Africa to make your goddamn shirts, go right ahead, but you're going to pay the fucking tariff. You're going to pay the 70%, right? Just so the good, you can't just dump on the market, undersell, and drive American businesses out of business, right? We're going to make that price competitive, and we're going to force you to make it competitive. Now all of a sudden people are saying, oh no, tariffs the reason why you're paying too much. And again, everyone all of a sudden has become an economist overnight and is blaming tariffs out of nowhere. This thing that has always existed, right? For the reason why people can barely buy eggs. It's like, okay, I see what's happening. Like, I know I'm being manipulated here, right? And the point of tariffs is to incentivize people, like, to make businesses here at home, here in America, right? Like, yeah, it'll raise the prices of foreign goods, but people will just buy here in America. Like, I'm so sorry you can't buy that shirt made with Chinese slave labor for $3. I am so sorry you can't do that. If I had a face cam, you would see the tears rolling down my eyes. And this is what people voted for, right? Like, people will weather the storm, if there is one, just in the knowing that they're going to benefit at the end of it, and this will be a benefit.
He said this year's apparel industry is like a pressure cooker that could blow at any moment. This isn't just panic, it's worse than during the pandemic. Many clothing business owners may lose everything they've built over a lifetime.
People seeing potential war with China.
Another TikToker showed the current situation at his factory. Because of the tariff hike, orders have been delayed or canceled. Now his packaging and printing factory doesn't even have boxes to make. All he can do now is clean the factory. A TikToker shared a video saying that after the U.S. increased tariffs, the impact on China's foreign trade is obvious. He mentioned that when he flies, there are hardly any Westerners on the plane, mostly people from Africa. Also, when entering the U.S., Chinese people face especially strict security checks.
I'm at Guangzhou Baiyun Airport right now. and the flight is about to take off. This tariff increase is really affecting China. If you look around, you can see there are almost no white faces here, mostly African brothers. This shows...
Yeah, the Chinese also use the word brother a lot. I mean, I guess it's a cultural thing. Like, at first I'm like, what do you mean by that? Because I grew up on Fallout 3, Liberty Prime, anti-communist propaganda. I'm like, are we about to fight some African communists? Are we about to throw hands with African communist filth? Like, don't get me wrong, I'll do that any day. But then I'm like, oh, well, they just use brothers and it's part of their language and syntax. I'm like, oh, okay. I guess I shouldn't look too far into it.
How tough the foreign trade...
Look, my bigotry's in my mind. Until I hear something that doesn't sound right, then I make my bigotry known.
situation is right now. When I went through customs, they saw my yellow skin and Chinese passport and gave me a hard time. They asked about every little detail. Why I'm here, who I'm visiting, where I'm staying, how long I'll be, and what business I'm doing. Traveling abroad is...
I mean, we do this with most countries that have sort of a tense relationship with. Like, I know someone who's Israeli that had to go through the same shit, and they kind of put his card on hold, like, all while he was doing this, so they had to actually fucking feed him at the airport.
Already hard, and now people like me in foreign trade have to face Trump's 54% tariff hike and random checks.
On April 6, a female owner of a laser cutting factory, Liu Ting, posted a video saying that manufacturing in China is going to get even harder, and she plans to sell off her 30,000 watt equipment.
是的，你们没有听错，我可能要把去年4月份买的大组的激光要准备出掉了。
Yes, you heard me right. I might have to sell the laser equipment I bought last April. I don't need to explain. You can probably guess why. The economic environment is bad, and the trade war has already started. Soon, all manufacturing businesses, especially small ones, will face bankruptcy. This is not an exaggeration, it's the reality. She also said that starting this month, all manufacturing businesses in China will face an unprecedented winter. More and more companies will go bankrupt, lay off workers, and downsize. Many manufacturing owners will end up with insufficient funds and will not survive. Cases in banks, law firms, and courts will pile up.
Yeah, I mean, again, if you built your entire business model off of this, I don't know the whole economic and business situation in China, but if you built it all based off of exporting to America and to other Western nations, you kind of place yourself in a situation where you have to piggyback and pray. One, the USD doesn't lower in value. Two, they don't slap tariffs on you or disrupt your trade in any way. And up until now, they were sitting pretty comfortable. But now, with Trump being like, okay, you either come to the table or negotiate, or you suffer. I mean, yeah, this is definitely something that's going to hit hard if, again, China doesn't negotiate. Or hell, if they do negotiate, nothing really happens.
The TikToker estimates that all manufacturing business owners are currently in an anxious, confused, and helpless state. Particularly for factories that relied on foreign trade orders, the shrinking foreign demand and declining domestic demand are making it difficult. Many small business owners can't sleep because of worries and fear. They're afraid all the years of hard work will go to waste. They fear they won't be able to pay employee wages or cover rent and utilities. The TikToker revealed that with electricity costs for her equipment already reaching her limit, she has decided to sell her 30,000 watt laser equipment. On April 8th, a TikToker from Zhejiang shared a video saying that she suddenly realized the US tariff increase has also severely impacted non-exporting manufacturers.
浙江这边的厂，这个关税加上去之后。
How big of an impact has the tariff increase had on local factories in Zhejiang? I run a small factory and don't deal with foreign trade, so I'm not sure how much it would affect me. But I've noticed that my upstream suppliers who export raw materials haven't received any orders for a long time.
Oh yeah, and it's not really just the end product, it's everything, raw materials, equipment, maintenance, everything leading up to that will also suffer if, again, they come from other sources or they export to other sources. Like, yeah, I mean, it affects a lot of things up the chain.
Not even one container has shipped out. When they can't get orders, they try to switch to domestic sales. Now, people at their factories are still working non-stop, running around to try to make domestic sales. So when they get involved in the domestic market, doesn't that just drag the domestic factories into it too? Everyone's getting caught in the spiral, and in the end, we'll all collapse together. The impact is really huge, and some people probably haven't realized it yet. Whether it's the impact on their foreign trade or on our factories that don't deal with foreign trade, it's all very significant. On April 7th, a TikToker from Foshan visited a newly built factory district.
There's a lot of TikTokers, like, in China, that also own business. I mean, it makes sense, right? It's like Facebook. Like, a lot of people that have a Facebook around here, and yeah, I mean, it's one of the best ways if you're a small business to sort of reach people is through Facebook.
And recorded footage of the vacant and neglected factory buildings.
He said, "Look at these factories that were just built last year. Now I can't even find a single person. There are no cars or people on the road. Some of these factories are single-story and others have multiple floors. The landlords spent nearly $1 billion yuan to build these. Just a few years ago, these beautiful buildings were all leased out by middlemen. You had to wait in line to rent a factory space, but now there isn't a single customer coming to view the space. The new factory buildings behind me haven't even been renovated yet because the landlords are afraid of spending money if no one rents them. With the manufacturing industry in decline, every industry is struggling."
He recalled that some Chinese companies moved to Southeast Asia to avoid the US-China trade war a few years ago. Now, this new wave of tariffs is a heavy blow to those companies because some countries have even higher tariffs than China. He questioned where these companies should go next: stay in Southeast Asia, move back to China, or shift to Africa.
Yeah, and that's another thing that's going on. Like, they're trying to kind of circumvent that and kind of go around it. But now people are like, then now the tariffs are like, oh, I see there's a lot of these factories, and I don't know, I think Vietnam or Singapore was one of them. Huh, that's very odd. Well, I guess we'll tariff them too, huh? And until they come to the table, and it's like, well, damn. It's like he's trying to remove all the possible loopholes, right, to stop. And he probably won't get all of them, but he'll get a significant amount to again force these China to come to the table.
On April 7th, Ms. Gong, a manager of a Bluetooth headphone export company in Guangzhou, told Radio Free Asia that most companies in Guangdong that used to trade with the US have stopped accepting orders due to tariff barriers. She said, "I had dinner with people from the industry yesterday, and they told me that they used to export products from Vietnam to the US. Now most of those orders have stopped. They're not taking new orders. They're just waiting to see how serious the situation will get. Right now, we know that foreign trade companies in Guangzhou and Guangdong are temporarily not accepting orders." Ms. Gong also mentioned that a Hong Kong company near her recently moved its factory to Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam, and is currently hiring Vietnamese locals. However, the sudden increase in US tariffs has put the factory in a difficult position. She said they just built the factory in Vietnam, and now they're about to start operations. But now the US has increased tariffs by 46% on Vietnam, so it's impossible to avoid the high tax rates. The investment they made earlier is now wasted. According to Trump's announced plans, the US will implement differentiated tariffs on different countries and regions, with China at 34%, the EU at 20%, Taiwan at 32%, Vietnam at 46%, Switzerland at 31%, the UK and Brazil at 10%.
Yeah, I believe this is, well, in response to the tariffs these countries have on America. Like, I think it's reciprocal tariffing was what he's talking about, right? So he's just matching it, with very few exceptions being China, which might increase, and Canada, which also might increase, because, well, Canada's spurting out and China is standing firm.
And Japan, South Korea, and India at 24%. Additionally, Trump announced a minimum 10% tariff on all goods entering the U.S. However, on April 7th, U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent stated that nearly 70 countries have already reached out to the U.S. to discuss negotiations on Trump's latest tariff policy. He revealed that President Trump will personally participate in the talks to secure the best bargaining position for the U.S. Many Southeast Asian countries, including Vietnam, Indonesia, Thailand, the Philippines, and Malaysia, have expressed willingness to make adjustments and negotiate with the U.S.
Yeah, this is the plan all along, right? You know, I mean, The Art of the Deal was a book made by Trump. He knows how to do business, how to bring people to the table. And being the president of America, he now has the means to do that. Like, he's trying to secure a better position for Americans, and clearly it works in his interest because he's the president. Hell, I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't have businesses that also have these things. He's forming coalitions with other people that have businesses in America, right? Like Elon Musk, that makes products, hire people in America. So this just sounds like a good thing. You know, it sounds like, yeah, of course he's going to do this.
Despite Vietnam's proactive effort...
And to be fair, he has 4 years of spite welling up to be able to do this. I think he also has a previous, presidential experience to do this. So, yeah.
To reduce U.S. import tariffs, the White House refused to offer reciprocal concessions, citing non-tariff cheating. U.S. Trade Advisor Peter Navarro recently said that Vietnam's issue lies in non-tariff methods, such as Chinese products being exported via Vietnam and the theft of U.S. intellectual property. His comments highlighted...
Yeah, and that's also something that a lot of, business people, a lot of people that get, sell products in China, or outsource their factories to China, is, yeah, they do kind of steal a lot of IP, a lot of technology, and sometimes they even straight up take over businesses that were sent to China, because for whatever reason they can do that. Steal the technology, steal the specs, steal the IPs, and then make the shit themselves. This was a big thing in the early late 1900s.
That the Trump administration not only sees tariffs as a tool to resolve trade imbalances, but is also trying to prevent country of origin laundering and reshape global manufacturing and supply chains. On April 6, a TikToker who runs a granulator production factory posted a video saying that due to the U.S. tariff policy, her factory has been working overtime to...
Why do they keep saying a TikToker that runs? Just say the business owner of a... it's just odd terminology.
Meet the demand from
a
orders from
TikToker
Southeast
that
Asia.
owns.
Today is the second day of our holiday, but all our staff have been urgently called back to the factory to work overtime because of the tariff increase. Last night, our Southeast Asian customers called, asking us to hurry up and produce and ship. The boss said we should prioritize foreign orders. The big factories we work with are also working non-stop. I don't know what's going to happen next. Do you understand what this means? Some viewers commented under the video, saying, "Once these orders are done, there won't be any more orders. This is the last deal. This is the final flurry before the factory shuts down. Rushing to finish orders overnight, then pulling out when the business ends." After the U.S. announced the 34% tariff increase on Chinese goods, the People's Daily published a series of articles over 3 days, strongly criticizing the U.S.'s unilateral abuse of reciprocal tariffs, while stating the sky will not fall. However, it's clear that Chinese industry is feeling pessimistic. Reports from Chinese media indicate that Chinese manufacturers, foreign trade businesses, third-party intermediaries, and U.S. buyers are all struggling in this tariff battle. Some are reworking their costs overnight and engaging in price wars. Others are changing product specifications and shipping methods, while some are rushing to fulfill orders in an attempt to minimize losses before the new tariffs take effect. One foreign trade owner said, "No matter what, with these tariff hikes, the biggest losers are the business people." Mr. Zhu, an e-commerce entrepreneur from Jiangsu, told Radio Free Asia that the U.S.'s high tariffs on China will lead to the collapse of many e-commerce businesses. He said, "We are definitely affected. The impact is huge, and there's basically no profit left. We just can't keep doing business. Many e-commerce businesses in Jiangsu and Guangdong can't operate anymore. Everyone's in..."
Yeah, and again, for the past couple of years, like, this was very profitable for China, because for some reason, a lot of Western companies were like, well, we can't do business in the country of our origin for whatever reason, right? Either, the environmental reasons, or the big companies themselves are like, no, we're going to move out here to China in order to pay them less and save money, right? And now that all that's coming tumbling down because of this tariff war Trump's doing, again, it's just a peculiar situation that probably no one, again, like that dude previously said, like, they've built whole buildings, right, to, in like right here, they built entire, like, manufactories, because there's probably this idea that, oh, well, it's just going to keep increasing. We're going to keep ramping up production. Then the tariffs hit, and it's like, oh God, never mind. In fact, the opposite's happening.
In poverty now. The time of hunger and instability is coming. Just the other day, I met an elderly man in his 80s who was cursing the leaders, saying they've ruined this country. Our foreign policy is surrounded on all sides, and no country is engaging with China normally anymore. Veteran media figure Mr. Ge believes that the differences between China and the US are not just about tariffs, and that Trump's tariff hikes are aimed at countries around the world. He points out that China's trade surplus with the US nearly reached $300 billion last year, something President Trump greatly dislikes. He added that US-Vietnam trade can be resolved through negotiations between the leaders of the countries, including lowering tariffs on Vietnamese products entering the US. But this is not the case for China. He said, in comparison, the trade war is definitely more disadvantageous for China because China depends heavily on the US market. The US itself is a huge market. The key issue is that after China made the first move, no other countries followed, which is probably the most troublesome problem for China. If Vietnam successfully negotiates with the US and benefits from it, it will attract many other countries to follow suit and negotiate as well. The People's Daily, the CCP's official paper, warned in a commentary that the US's actions will ultimately lead to a self-destructive cycle for the US. Australian scholar...
No. I think that's just grandstanding. Look, again, the USD has so much bargaining power. Again, I think someone told me about a thing called, like, BRICS, which is another type of form of currency. I doubt cryptocurrency will ever grow as big as just a couple of tech bros thinking they're, cheating the system. But the thing called BRICS that is kind of like a currency being propped up, I don't think it's going to go that far. I mean, again, if it does manage to somehow surpass the USD, the U.S. absolutely would not allow that.
Scholar Li Yuanhua stated that while the U.S. will temporarily be affected, American society's ability to withstand shocks is relatively greater than China's. He said, if life in China were to regress decades, could the Chinese people endure it? Can the CCP handle the growing public discontent? The CCP doesn't have many cards to play. When it collapses, it will likely not be in a rational way, and it won't be due to a desire to solve problems. In a rare move, there has been criticism within China against the CCP's countermeasures against the U.S. He Bin, former deputy director of the Public Policy Research Center at the Chinese Academy of Social Sciences, recently posted on social media. He said the CCP's countermeasures are entirely wrong. He made a comparison. The tariffs are like, if you hit your wife, I'll hit my wife. He further pointed out, the U.S. raising tariffs is like shooting yourself in the foot, and we should not shoot ourselves in the foot as well. He believes the correct countermeasure strategy is not to retaliate tit for tat, but to adopt a policy of comprehensive economic openness.
Yeah, but don't really, again, America, that only makes sense if China was the only manufacturer. Now, granted, they're probably the greatest, But America also does make a lot of things here at home. And again, when the businesses come rolling back in, right, I don't think that will really even, like, at that point, it's not going to matter at all.
Implementing unilateral zero tariffs on all imported goods from other countries. Chinese economist Fu Peng believes that Trump's reciprocal tariffs are like a buyer gathering supplies for negotiation. If suppliers refuse to negotiate, it's like abandoning their chance to bid, which will exclude them from the supply chain. Fu Peng's comments are suspected to have been deleted. Chinese financial website Yi Cai cited analysis from Gao Ruidong, chief economist at Everbright Securities. He said that the current China-US trade friction is gradually extending into the fields of technology and finance. If negotiations continue to be blocked, the decoupling in these areas could further intensify. By May or June, the decoupling in technology and finance between China and the US could resonate with the tariff policies, amplifying pressure on capital markets.
So yeah, and I mean, again, it's one of those things where, like, there has to be some level of negotiation because that's the point, right? To come to the fucking table and negotiate, which is why he's slapping this shit up. Because no one gives a shit when this happens in the U.S. for the past 40 years. Oh, I mean, again, a lot of these, businesses, there were a lot of, like, coal mines, a lot of oil, like, drilling plants that went down, and there's also a lot of factories that just left, leaving, Americans without jobs. And yeah, no one talks about it because for some reason it's one of those things where it's like, hey, we know what's happening, but we can't help it. It's just how the way it is. As an American manufacturer, China now knows what we went through. On God, they do. Up in Ohio, we literally have dozens of abandoned factories just in my area. It's unbelievable, devastating. You're ready to take back what's ours, U.S. Yeah, and there's a lot of people in America who will gladly work a factory job. I mean, it's honorable work. You get paid a livable wage. It's work for people who, don't have like a college degree, right? Who don't have like a trade. And I think it's fine. I'm in Flint, Michigan. My entire city is dilapidated because of the trade deals in the 90s. No other country gave a crap when this was happening. That's not even your own goddamn politicians cared. Because to them, it's like, oh, whoa, we don't have to. Like, the businesses didn't care. The politicians didn't care. It's just something that happened. I do want to report on how hard this was for American companies that went through this in 70s, 80s, and 90s. They're all still there and still dealing with the pain. This is exactly what we Americans voted for. Could not be more proud of Trump for standing with us, up for us. Yeah, and like I keep saying, people are willing to weather the storm. A lot of people are saying, "Oh, well, this is bad. We're going to suffer. We're going to end up paying more." People are willing to do that. It means the business is coming back. I mean, you can hate it, but it's just the way it is. This is what happens when your government doesn't support your people. Don't blame the U.S. Blame your horrible government. I like China. If I was like in China, like China's like, fuck yeah, you're gonna make us the pseudo monopoly for like I don't know what type of, like, a lot of Chinese cheap knockoff manufactured goods. Like like they would be dumb not to take this. Like, yeah, we'll take all the factories and all your businesses because it gives us a greater leg until situations like this happen. You're getting tariffed out the ass, then you get fucked. I worked at a small manufacturer that folded all businesses went to China while they banned U.S. goods. I'm a 65-year-old American, and now the Chinese can see what I saw happen in American manufacturing, textile and steel industries in 1979. Rust Belt comes to mind. For everyone who isn't from America calling us bullies, let me ask you a simple question. And if you answer is no, oh my god, I am not reading all that, sorry. Let's bring back Made in America. I don't feel bad. China's been sticking it to American manufacturers for decades. Yeah, China's been like, what? You're going to destroy your own industry and give it to us? Fuck yeah, bro. You take all the wealth from our country and turn around and try to fight U.S. military on top of that, apply tariffs on our goods. Fair is fair. They're now feeling the pain Americans felt when our manufacturing went left. Yes. Yes. And, well, I mean, yeah, a lot of people in the comments are like, yeah, now they're going to feel what we felt, and yeah, this is what people voted for, and this is what they're going to get. But that's all I got to say about this. Peace.